Yeah. We are recording on Thursday, October 31st, 2024, 10:35 a.m. Eastern time on Halloween with Mr. Sam Anthony. You and I chatted the other day about your website, your news, and kind of the general push towards media decentralization, which I think we saw the first, you know, publicly or kind of household awareness of the need for it in 2021. Um, Obviously, these things have been going on a lot longer. I think Rumble was founded in 2013, but it didn't really matter until 2021. And but the push through 2021, the push through 2022, and it's really they have truly they've regained none of their ground. There's never been a credible story where you're like, maybe they're not, they just keep digging the hole. And I think the real final thing was seeing like watching the clip on Twitter of them shooting at Trump and seeing him covered in blood. And then seeing like as I was logging into my gaming computer, it's a Microsoft, and so it gives you news updates. And like looking at the shooting on my phone and then seeing on Microsoft saying Trump fell down amongst loud noises. And that was just like motherfucker. Like it is so far gone. And so yeah, you're trying to capitalize it. I'm trying to capitalize it, and most importantly, fuck these people. But Mr. Anthony, please introduce yourself, sir.
Hi. Well, first of all, great to be on your show here, Tommy. My
Yeah.
name's Sam Anthony. I'm the CEO of a company called Nico Ventures. Nico Ventures owns a platform called Your News, which is yournews.com, an online daily newspaper. We are local in every city in the United States with the ability to target ads by zip codes. And, what we do will ultimately be the next mainstream media.
And the link to that is in the description. You guys can find it. Go check it out. You can punch in your own zip code. Um, but yeah, it is kind of an inevitable irreversibility. The slow, and I think you and I talked about this the other day when we chatted. It it's also not a surprise that it's taken a little while. Like it takes a minute for the Titans to collapse. These didn't pop up overnight. It's not a viral thing where it
Tommy.
happens and then the meme's gone. These are legacy institutions.
Yeah, but remember, Bell created the telephone. The telegraph didn't go out of business the day he created it. I mean,
Oh
it
yeah,
still took a long time. Okay,
yeah,
it's the car was invented, but there's still people riding around in horse and buggies. I mean, how do you make 20 million cars and put them in everybody's driveways, right? I mean, you don't even have driveways, I would
yeah,
assume them, right? You
yeah,
tied your horse up.
yeah.
So it takes time, but yes, it's all but over.
hmm Yeah, it is. No, it's a great point. There's the overlapping. There always is. I mean, yeah, I mean, World War I, they still were using horses for cavalry. Meanwhile, there's like water cooled Maxim machine guns, right? There were still biplanes flying, and the early biplanes, they're like these are a novelty. They used to like fly over. I'm not even kidding. The guy in the back, there's a great book called ISR, Intelligence Surveillance Reconnaissance by Colonel Tyler Morton, and yeah, no, from kites to the Cold War, yeah. Um, and yeah, no, in the back, they had these fucking guys with goggles on, like legit, like 1915, 1916. The guy in the back would write down what he saw. They would tie it to something heavy, like a bottle, and then they'd fly back over their friendly lines and just like Kobe and just throw it out to and they'd pick it up and they go, there's fucking guys behind that hill. And they're like, this is a novelty. No one in the right mind would try to say that air power is a novelty now, right? So
No,
yeah, no,
no.
so that does make sense that it is a slow erosion, and then you have the digging in. It's not just that they're at the top of the hill, they're the king of the hill. So now they have an inversely proportional capability to quash any challengers. It's not an even playing field. It's not everyone's the same height on a basketball court. They've built this thing up in kind of I think the comedian Tim Dillon said it best. What we're kind of seeing is like the trust fund kids of the Illuminati or the New World Order. I mean, really, it's 30s, 40s, 50s, the Dulles brothers, the Harriman Bank, Brown Brothers Harriman, kind of funding Wall Street funding the Nazis, the war machine in the West. You kind of saw this thing, and then they set up, the empire and just pillaging, South America and the Middle East and all the CIA backed coups. And those are like the guys that start the Fortune 500 company. Those are the like the Rockefellers and the Carnegies. But then you get to like the second, third, fourth generation, and you just get a bunch of coked up trust fund kids plowing a Mercedes into a lamppost. And I think that's kind of what they still have all the wealth.
Yeah.
It doesn't just go, it's not like they're just a cokehead. No, there's a reason why it was allowed to happen. It's because they're rich as fuck, but the founder's dead, grandpa's on his deathbed, dad was a little less of a shithead than you. And so what we're seeing now is we're seeing that, and it takes time, but it slowly breaks apart.
They have no vested interest. They didn't create the wealth. They just have it.
That's
And they
also
have
that's
no
also a good point. No respect for it, no
none.
appreciation.
No, they didn't build anything.
Yeah,
Okay. They just inherited somebody else's genius is what they did.
yeah,
So they have no respect for it and they will ultimately lose it.
yeah. And so I'm here to just fucking pick up mine. And not in like a
Hey,
not like a bottom feeder, but I'm looking at it like these fuckers are fumbling the ball. I know I can work harder than them by virtue of the fact that I didn't have a Bugatti in high school.
you have no choice, Tommy. You have no
Well,
choice,
that too.
right? How else are you going to buy your cocaine unless you work for
Exactly. No,
it?
I'm
They,
that's my presidential campaign. Fuck these people. I don't know about you, but I worked for my drugs. Or yeah, fuck these people. I used to jerk off a dude behind a gas station for an 8 ball. USA, USA. That's a good point, but there's no vested interest. There's no appreciation for it, and they're just gonna. I don't think I could go toe to toe with like the people that founded these companies. I don't know, maybe 34-year-old me versus 34-year-old Rockefeller. I think he'd probably be a scrappy guy. He'd probably knife you. But I mean, I think I can work hard on my own. I can definitely destroy these retards. They don't know anything. They don't have to know anything. They're in a purpose-built echo chamber. They've been told that they're the best since they were born. And what we're seeing now is just sort of an inertia. They don't, when you get away with peddling anything for decades about this, that, or the other thing, and then all of a sudden you start to see a little more of the bullshit, like kind of Iraq war. It was like, all right, you had a nascent internet, and then really COVID, I think, further illuminated it. And then the assassination attempt was kind of the final thing where you see just the disparity in this. The reason they're so bold isn't because they're ballsy, isn't because it's it's the IDF special forces that those who dare win. It's not that. They're ballsy because in the same way that like a spoiled toddler isn't ballsy, they're ballsy because they're spoiled fucking rotten and they've never been told no. And I think that's what we're seeing right now is no one in their right mind would ever in 2024 with Twitter owned by Elon Musk and everyone having a screen in front of them, no one in their right mind would think that they can get away with lying about the video evidence of a bullet hitting a president. They're not doing that because it's bold. It's not some, you know, 2 point conversion in the Super Bowl. It's not that. It's not bold. It's stupidity. And now it's like as this is crumbling, it's a cycle that has happened throughout all of human history. As it's crumbling, new titans are going to emerge. So in that sense, it's like, why wouldn't I go and take it? Why wouldn't you go and take it?
oh, exactly. Yeah. I mean, they fumbled the ball, as you said.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's all but over. It's just a matter of time. So there will be somebody that replaces the legacy media. It's 100% chance it's going to happen. I mean, remember, they're the problem, right? If the media was telling the truth for the last 8 years, none of this stuff would have existed, but they
Mm.
don't.
Yeah.
And you could always tell they pick a side. They've already picked the horse they're backing, and even you know when Biden, which what did he say yesterday that
Trump scores are garbage.
garbage, right? He
Yeah.
called us garbage. Right now, the media is backtracking, going, "No, that's not what he meant." Yes, that's exactly what he meant.
Yeah.
Just like Hillary said, we're deplorables. That's
Horrible.
what she meant.
Yeah. No, it's there's also we're owed nothing though. So when I look at that and it's like, well, if the media had just told the truth, It's like, sure, but you're owed nothing. Not just you, not just me. Every like you're owed nothing. So sure, it would be nice if the media told the truth. It'd also be nice if there was no hunger. It would be nice if there was no rape. This is the world we live in. So, we can sit around and bitch about the media. So, but it's like the people that do that. Can you imagine if Trump did this? It's like Biden uses the FBI to no knock some old vet who posted something negative about him. The FBI shot him in the face. Instead of talking about what that was, which was a state sanctioned execution in someone's own home, all you really see from leading conservative voices are, can you imagine if Trump did, like, shut the fuck up? That's going to get you nowhere. It's going to get you on the train to the death camp going, can you imagine if Trump did this? The media would never shut up about it as you're marched in and shot in the fucking head. So another part of me just kind of has a whole thing of like, you were owed nothing. The media lied. They shouldn't, but they did. So what am I going to do about it? What am I, is it not really a pressing thing? If it's not really a pressing matter and doesn't really affect my life, then yeah, you kind of go, they lie, and then whatever, you go about your life. But when it is so in our face and it is so just when we are so beyond, not to sound like some shitty TED talk, but when we're so beyond hyper connected, when the bandwidth is so high between just location sharing and pictures and videos and even just like I send like a sunset to like my family group chat it's still like it's like 4K HDR 10 gigabytes. It's just like I just step out and take it and send it. When it is that way, you can no longer ignore this. You can no longer ignore just how much of an absolute cancer it is, how much of an absolute just blood sucking tick it is. Again, you know, in 2024, does it really affect you and I, what the civilian price of a ticket to low Earth orbit is? No, it's like $1 billion. What the fuck is that? I can't. What are you talking about? What does this have to do with me? Get out of my house. What about the price of groceries?
That affects you.
For a long time, the news was just, yeah, they're all full of shit, but whatever. It is so in your fucking face now. And it is so every part of your life. And you're deplatformed and you're cut off from the town square. You're desocialized. You're getting the what's the punishment they give prisoners? Murderers. What punishment do they give them? They isolate them from the other murderers. That's punishment. Solitary confinement. They're doing that to you now. Why? Because you were a murderer? No, because you said, I don't know, I think nations need borders. So it is so in your face and it is so pertinent that you can no longer sit on the sideline. So I don't know. That's my stump speech for why I do what I do. And I don't know if that's anywhere near the rationale behind yours.
Well, when I first started this, Tommy, I didn't believe the media was lying. I mean, I've been doing this a long time. Okay, so it
When did you
was
start it?
well, it was started as an idea, okay, like 20 years ago. And there was no website, no nothing. It was just me and a couple guys believed that the media was going to eventually falter because the internet was going to transform the whole thing. And that was back when nobody bought this story. Today, everybody's scratching their heads going, are they still printing that newspaper? Okay, they really, I mean, even I go, my neighbor gets one. They're in their 80s, okay, but
Yeah.
everybody reading it is all the elderly,
Yeah.
right? And so it's going to be around. My guess is, originally when we started this, it was the newspaper industry, which we all know they're almost completely gone. The next one to go is going to be radio and TV, which are all bucked together, broadcast media. And the reason for that is not because they were lying, which certainly doesn't help. It's just the average age of the cable news viewer and radio is 70 years old, and nobody's following up behind them because everybody's getting their information on demand. So I could watch this show on Rumble whenever I want to. I can watch it tonight when I get home. Whereas, you got to be home at a specific time to watch a specific show. And that's really the reason. There's still a demand for news. Consumption has changed. That's it. So when I woke up was when Trump won the election, and all of a sudden the mainstream media just completely turned on him. Started manufacturing stuff. I mean, stuff that just made absolutely no sense. He's a Russian asset, right? They spent all this money with what's his name to figure it all out. God knows how many millions of
Mueller.
dollars to
Yeah.
yeah, Mueller to come up with nothing. Remember? I mean,
Yeah.
it was so it's obvious they picked a side. And normally it's any times there's a paradigm in an industry, it's extremely painful to go through for people in the industry because it just keeps downsizing and downsizing. This is one where everybody's cheering on the fact that they're in pain. I got a call from a woman out of Dallas or San Antonio the other day. She's I've talked to her before, but she works at a local TV station. She said, "Sam, how long do you think TV has local?" And I said, Suzanne, I was trying to be nice. I go, oh, you've got time because, you're not the networks, right? The networks are really in trouble, but local news is going to be more in demand. And she goes, I don't think you're right. She goes, every time we go somewhere, people are yelling at us, get off, you're fake news, get off. I mean, she goes to the point where I've been scared and had to leave sometimes. Okay, this is in Texas, right? So she goes, I don't think we got but a few years. I go, well, now that you're saying, I'm just going to tell you, I think you got 5 or 6. That's about it. It's
Yeah.
all but over. Okay, what's going to replace it? I mean, think about this. With technology today, somebody like you 30 years ago could never have your own podcast because the technology didn't exist. There's people on YouTube making 7 figures. Okay,
Yeah. PewDiePie is it's like a year older than me. He's worth like $200 million.
I mean, that's my point. The audience, I mean, and look what they did with Tucker. They kicked him off of Fox. Remember, he had like 3 million viewers. Now I've seen him where he had 100 million in some
He
episodes. It's
tweets a
like,
video and it's got 100 million in a day.
I mean, it's so all of a sudden he was in this little box contained, and bam, what do you think WWW stands for? World
Yeah.
Wide Web. All of
Yeah.
a sudden he's open to everybody, and he's going, "Holy crap! I'm making 10 times the money I was making before."
Yeah.
I
Fuck
mean,
these people.
yeah, exactly. So you have, I don't know how many people, but you have all these different people that have all these shows that were never in the broadcast industry. Tommy, did you ever work for CNN or ABC or NBC or Fox? Did you ever
I,
do anything?
I have a biology degree.
Okay, my point is all of a sudden you went from being, potentially being a biologist or a doctor, and now you're a show host.
Yeah.
Okay, all because of technology. And there are literally millions of people like you, and the cream rises to the top. You got your Joe Rogans and your Tucker Carlson, you got people in between and everywhere. So it's the marketplace is here for what you do, and that is what will replace the legacy media.
And as always, it's money talks, right?
Mhm.
It's the only thing that talks. There's always complaints about X, Y, and Z, but it comes down to the fucking cash. And on like a micro scale, on like in like a vacuum. I guess I always learn physics. It's like in a vacuum, and it's like, of course, that's not how it works. You know, you can't just if you're saying in a vacuum, there's a ball and another ball. Well, in real life, there's wind, there's moisture, there's whatever. But in a vacuum, you know, the cheaper thing should always the whatever the balance between cheap and durability is wins. But kind of like the trust fund kid, there is an inertia to where when something's around so long and it has so much money behind it, then you get into that like upper level economics where it's you move to consolidation, and then it's less about improving your product as it is about squashing everyone else. And then you go even farther if you can be around even longer, like a timeless thing, like an oil production, or then you start getting into then you start doing what is it thing they call industrial lobbying, where you specifically offer to put assembly plants and senators, like it starts to get this. I mean, it's evil, but I respect the game. Like they're looking at it, they're like, yeah, I don't need to lower the price, I just bought a senator. And you're like, oh fuck, that is kind of hardcore. Like, but those things do eventually die, and they take longer because their nails are so fucking in. It's not just, you know, if in fifth, let's say I have the best podcast ever, and it just keeps growing, and I have a kid, and he takes it and it goes even farther. Right now, if someone else does a better interview with you right now, people are gonna look at that. But in 100 years, if I've accumulated $1 trillion and I buy every video platform and buy off senators and congressmen and tell them not to allow other video platforms, it's going to take a little while to die, but it will still die. It's just not as quickly. So the point is that it's money. I mean, Tucker could wax poetically about if I was just free, I could say whatever I want. Yeah, go fucking yeah. What is it? What is it? What is it? Shit in one hand, put your hopes in the other. Tell me which one like fills up first. Like, yeah, okay. But if you can turn that into shekels, then it's real. That's the alchemy. It is no longer a fun idea. It's real. Is it deploy? There was some Soviet physicist in I think during World War II who had developed, I mean, what we now know as stealth, and it wasn't modern stealth. Modern stealth is it's a bunch of different like energy production, cloaking the material itself, radar absorbing material, RAM. That's very high tech. But back in the day, it came down to just an equation. Is if you made this thing this certain shape, have you ever been like, I don't know, go throughout your house clapping, you'll hear different echoes. And then you'll go to a place where all of a sudden you find like there's no, and it's just the ceiling's at the right height, the carpet is absorbing, and it's this perfect thing. So they found out that stealth really was just an equation. It was laying there forever, and the Soviets never pursued it. When did it become a thing? Is when it had applicability. He came to the US, or I think we just found his research. That's what led to the F-117 Nighthawk, which is an ugly fucking diamond. So my point is all these things exist as ideas that are all, it's like when it's a bunch of college kids sitting around smoking and saying like we should just have world peace, man. Like, yeah, I'm with you. We should have world peace. How the fuck are you gonna figure that out? There's 8 billion people. There's wars. There's ideologies. There's resource disparity. Like, we just have world peace, dude. The world runs on blood and steel. But if it becomes applicability, then it becomes very, very real here and now. When they took that stealth equation and they put it into they built the fucking thing and they did a test on it, and a plane the size of a bus had the return of a ball bearing, then it became real. So my point is all these things sound all well and good. We should just have free speech and like no more wars and like, okay, where does it go? How do you do it? Versus now I can do this. I can make money to pay rent. I can get groceries. I can afford podcast equipment. And so that's kind of the difference. Is it's not just that things should go, is there a viable route for it to go? And I think that's what you're getting into is that there is a financial feasibility. Sorry for that absolute word vomit, but
Well, ultimately what I do is inevitable, simply because the legacy media is not going to survive. So there is going to be a product that replaces it. For your audience, because we're a platform, but it looks like the local paper in every city in the United States. So we geolocate you when you log in. Your provider tells us where you live. So if you live in Phoenix, it'll open to the Phoenix edition. If you live in Chicago, it opens to Chicago, Miami, so on and so forth. So just imagine you're looking at any daily news website, but the difference is we operate 20,000 cities. So there's one city called Chicago, but Chicago may have 100 zip codes. The purpose of the zip codes is we can serve an ad as granular as one zip code. So however many ads, let's say the Chicago Tribune can get on their sports page, we could do in one zip code. So it's like having 70,000 different editions. We're an aggregator of information. So all news outlets are aggregators. And what I mean by that is everybody knows people that have news will send a press release to the media. So if you're some nonprofit in Pennsylvania somewhere, Philadelphia, and and you have news you want to share with the community. It could be a 5K run or a bake sale from a church. Somebody from the nonprofit sends a press release to the news outlets, which would be radio, TV, and print. They all aggregate them. They decide what they're going to air or publish. So what we are is an aggregator of the identical content. We have the ability to print it all because there's no cost and we can organize it by subject and geography, meaning news is either going to be city, county, market, state, regional, or national. So somebody's little league game is sports news for a city. The high school football game is sports news for a market, which we define market by television DMA. And then obviously last night's Thursday night football game is national news.
hmm.
Make sense? Still sports
Hmm.
news, but it gets distributed to all zip codes. So,
Hmm.
because of our scale, there's a social component where the public interacts. And rather than send us an email with a press release, they submit the content. The content comes in as pending review. Then once approved, they get email notification with a direct link to their story, and everybody shares it on social media. Tommy, I don't know if I showed you, but I had over 5 million people on my site last year.
Yeah,
5.4 million
I'll give you a screenshot.
consumed over 100 million articles.
Yeah.
That's just the beta.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, for the audience, there is, I think I may have showed you this on LinkedIn Navigator. Did I show you there was
Yeah.
470,000
Yeah.
people? Okay, so 470,000 people calling themselves freelancers. For people who don't know what freelancers are, for the most part, that means I don't have a job. These are all part of the downsizing of the legacy media. I remember when that thing was less than 100,000. I mean, today it's almost a 500,000 people. By the way, these are the people that are advertising that they're looking for work. You know how many people lost their job 3, 4, 5 years ago that really didn't get anything, that just took themselves off and now they're doing something else?
Yeah.
Probably tens of thousands.
Yeah.
But these are the people that are advertising that they're looking for work. So everybody understands YouTube. YouTube has a monetization model. Once you get a podcast that's big enough, they'll share in the ad revenue with you, right? Your podcast could be a golf show, it could be a hockey show, it could be a political show, just not right wing. Okay.
Just
It could,
it could be
yeah,
anything you want except right wing.
except you cannot tell the truth when it comes to
You do
politics.
anything you want. Just don't you dare suggest that children shouldn't chop their dicks off. Other
That's
than that,
right.
you're good. You go for it.
Yeah, they will monetize you, and they have advertisers, people that sell knives for the dick
Mhm.
chopping and scissors and whatever the hell it is. So you can share in the revenue. So what we built was a monetization model for news reporters where they could write a story, go back to work, write a story about the city council meeting, the high school football game, whatever it is. Okay, we can publish it, and what they do is once the article gets approved, they share it on their social media pages to their followers. Their followers come to us to consume it because we sell the ads, and then they share in the ad revenue. It's pretty freaking simple.
Mm.
It's not like this isn't done somewhere else. YouTube monetizes, Facebook monetizes, no, LinkedIn doesn't monetize, but X monetizes, and so does Rumble. You're not getting monetized on Facebook simply because they don't want your type of content on there. But you could be monetized on X, you could be monetized on Rumble, but they don't do what we do. We do local news. Okay, here's the key to the whole thing. As I told you yesterday, there's two ways to win this game. One is through a violent civil war, which
Mhm.
nobody wants. The second way is through controlling information, owning the mainstream media. If you were to go and buy Fox, CNN, ABC, NBC, it would cost you a fortune, and then you'd be out of business in another 6 or 7 years,
Yeah.
right? It'd be the
Yeah.
biggest waste of money you ever had. So that's what blows me away. Soros is buying all these radio stations. You know it's short-lived, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
what does he want them for?
Yeah.
Okay, for influence for the next 4 years? I have no
Yeah.
idea. But that whole way of consuming information is going away. Let me ask you a question. Do you have a car? Do you listen to radio on the dial?
No.
You have Sirius?
No, I've no I've
You just plug in your
plug
your
in my
your.
phone.
There you go.
No
Guess
fucking I
what?
don't even know how to fucking use the radio in my car. I legitimately don't.
Well,
I'm like, I don't.
so I
It's a new
leased a
car.
car. I leased a car. It's been 4 years. I have the Sirius radio in there. I have yet to ever tune into a radio station. By the way, this is now 8 years because I did the last one was the same thing.
Yeah.
It
It's a
so
good
does
point.
everybody else. So does everybody else. The people tuning into the radio stations are going to be the 70 plus crowd, 65 to 70.
I got that TV in November 2022. I didn't
Mhm.
realize it until about 2 months ago that it had like internet TV because I don't fucking use it. I don't get my news
Yes.
from. One day I think I hit the source button. I was trying to get the PC up and it went to like ESPN and I was like, the fuck it. My first was like, I hope I haven't been paying for this. And I started going through it and like I had the I had the free whatever comes with the Samsung TV, the free thing. No, nothing. Something like 3,000 channels. The free thing. I had no idea. And I still, it's just a nuisance now. If I pull up CNN or Fox or something, it's just a nuisance now. I go, move. I'm fucking doing something else. They can't hand it out. That's a good point.
You only have a small audience. I'm telling you, it's the 70 plus crowd because that's what I went out to dinner last night in my community. There's a lot of older people here, not like I'm not older too, but they're older than me. And the woman next to me was 75 years old, and she told me that she doesn't get on the internet and she watches cable news. That's their audience.
Mm.
That's their audience. My neighbors next to me are in their 80s. They watch cable news. That's their audience. What do you do when all of them are gone? You're screwed. You have no business anymore.
No, and they're simply going on momentum. It's what they grew up with. It's what they
Well,
were.
right. That's just how they grew
It's
up.
just
It's very,
truly it's a nostalgia slash ease of use. Why do I use Apple? Because that's all I've used, and I just know it. Apple's not as good. I don't give a fuck. I know how it works, and it has my stuff saved. That's the only. It used to be because I thought Apple was the best. Now I do that. Why do I use Apple now? All my external hard drives are formatted for this iMac that I do the podcast on. If I had to reformat them, I'd have to move something like 10 ter. I just don't want to do it. But I can tell you this much: I am not. Apple's not anything greater. Apple sucks dick. I am frustrated by it. I use it out of momentum. That's it. And when I'm gone, there goes an Apple customer.
yeah, that's how it works. I mean, so, there's still a demand for news. It's just consumption's changed. It's very difficult to change people and how they do things because they're accustomed to it. It's like the worst business model in the world. If you have a business model that wants to change the way everybody does things, you're not going to survive. But in this case, all the younger generation has already changed. They don't get the information on the television. They don't listen to radio on the dial. Everything they consume is on demand. Look at Netflix. Did you see what happened the other day? Um, it was Gavin Newsom either is giving or has given Hollywood $750 million. Did you see that? A taxpayer money to save Hollywood. Now, I don't know if that's just another form of money laundering because if you want to know why
Probably.
Hollywood is not making it, we could all talk about the fact that they're detached from everybody else,
I
but
don't know.
it
Maybe
doesn't
because they're.
really matter.
Yeah.
There's somebody called Netflix, there's somebody called Hulu, there's somebody called Amazon. They're all making TV shows and movies and they have their own distribution. What the hell does Hollywood have? Who goes to the theater anymore?
Yeah.
Okay, but my point is they're done. They just got $750 million basically to put in their pockets to continue. It's like they're funding a dying breed. There's already people that are replacing them with full blown distribution. Make
Well,
sense?
well, the verbiage itself says it to save. By the time you have to save something, it's fucked. The
It's
only time
done.
saving works is a historically significant site, a battlefield, a 10,000-year-old, Greek pantheon. That's it. If you have to
Yeah.
say we got to save the horse and shut the fuck up. No, you don't. No, you don't. We got to save the flip phone. Why? Why? No, no, no. The touchscreen's better.
All you
And
got to do
one,
is ask yourself, why do they need saving? Because nobody's watching their shit.
yeah.
Okay, that's it. Okay, so if nobody's watching it, what are they watching? Well, they have this thing called Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, right? They're all making movies and they all have global distribution. What does Hollywood have? Nothing.
And that's an important distinction is it's, as a right-leaning guy, myself, and as I believe yourself, and probably most people watching this, we can easily go, yeah, the reason Hollywood's dying is it's a bunch of fucking, Marxist pedophiles. And although that is true to, I'd say most of it, that is interesting because you're right. Yet Netflix isn't exactly some conservative bastion.
No,
Dead
not at
right. So
all.
right there, what you're seeing is you can't even say, well, they're dying because they're left. No, 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 no. It really is the money. They're just you have a bunch of other people that are going, we don't need this gatekeeping bottleneck. We can do our own distro.
It's just somebody created a product to replace the old.
Yeah.
It's not hard to figure out. So
Yeah.
let's give them $750 million. You got to wonder,
Well, that's
is
money.
that
That's
the
that's payback. That's not say that's payback for some slush fund.
yeah, or make sure I get 100 million of it in my offshore account.
Yeah, make sure it
Okay.
goes. That's what it is. Let's be honest. It's I don't.
Yeah,
They are demons from hell, and Hollywood is dying. Let's play the devil's advocate here. That's money laundering. They're fucking. That's going to someone. That's going to some dark money intelligence asset. Fucking because he's got a video of Newsom doing. That's what that is. Is just darker than the depths of hell. But
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So there's always a product that replaces something else. And what we do Okay, I'm going to tell you what the future of news is. I guarantee you this will happen unless the internet gets turned off. It's going to be a product like mine, a global media giant. It's going to be global, every city in the United States. And just for, I don't know if I told you, if I wanted to open up Canada, I get a zip code table. It's free. You can pull them anywhere. And bam, we could have a Canadian edition running. Canada would be the easiest simply because all the news is pretty much the same, right?
Hmm.
And we have contract
Google.
content creators out of Canada that already submit to me. But it'll be global media by zip code. Because remember, all the tech giants, Facebook, Twitter, Amazon, they're all global, right? And the reason is the barrier to entry is nothing. You want to go into the Ukraine? For me, you just get a zip code table, but you just open it up. So it'll be global. It'll have a social component where the public can interact and share in the narrative. It'll have a monetization model for news reporters and audio video content creators where they can actually write stories and share in the ad revenue, and the cream will rise to the top. And a self-service ad platform where people can buy their own ads and target their ad around the content that's relevant to their product. I mean, this is not something new.
Yeah.
It's just how we do it is different because nobody does it around news.
I wonder what the further evolution of this is as as even less people want video. Is it just ease of consumption? Is it quicker consumption? Because you don't need video. You don't need the only time you go to a Rogan episode on YouTube is because the comment section's fun. It's always a civil war. It's always you scroll down and the top one's this is a great show. The next one is Hitler did nothing wrong, and it's a great time.
It's called entertainment.
It's fucking great. Hey, tell everyone where to find your news. I got pissed so bad.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, so our domain is www.yournews.com. And when you log in, if you don't see your city name, click the green button that says change your location, put in your zip code, and it'll take you to your city. So it will look like a news website, but we have massive scale. Probably the closest thing to us would be Facebook, not because we're in the same business, but they sell ads around user generated content and they could do it to one zip code and everywhere in between. We can do it. We can too. It's just the content's different. We only do news, but news could be your kid's little league game. That could be news. But what we don't publish is, your kids' baby pictures or what you had for dinner last night. Um, Ultimately, what we do puts the power to press back in the hands of the people where it belongs. And Tommy needs to get back here because I have another rant I want to run on just a second here. So we'll wait for him for a minute. And I don't know if we're live, and if we are live and people are asking questions and there's like a feed, I don't see it. Oh, and by the way, at the bottom of the website, there's something that says become a citizen journalist. Most of the people on YouTube and Rumble have never been in the news business. All of a sudden they are. So we have a citizen journalist application. Tommy, have you filled it out yet? Did I set you up?
Yes.
You,
Right?
okay.
Did
I,
I?
I don't know.
What
Did
was the
you?
thing? I don't know. What was the thing I signed up the other day?
Yeah, I think you did. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So you got to do what Tommy did. So you could become a local news reporter in your market. You could actually click the become a citizen journalist, fill out the application. Once you get approved, you're now a news reporter. You go out and cover the local stories. So remember I showed you those 470,000 people that were out of work that, are I honestly, Tommy, I think 99% of them are never going to survive the new world. It's all going to be new people. Remember, did you ever hear Elon Musk say, citizen journalist is the wave of the future?
I think
Did you ever
so.
hear him say it?
Actually, no, I think yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you could look it up on the internet. He says it's the new reporting is all going to be citizen journalists. So we don't call it. I was calling it citizen journalist long before he ever owned, X. But he's right. It's going to be somebody who is proactive in the community that goes to the city council meeting. That all they do is take notes, write a story, or run it through AI. And once they like what they see, they then share it with the community and that becomes your next news reporter. And the scale with us, there's 20,000 cities roughly in the United States, and I think there's 3,300 counties. But for cities, you're going to need probably 5 or 6 people a city. So you're talking about 100,000 news reporters.
Hmm.
It's massive in scope. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, I was gonna say, no, it does follow like the logical progression of like a centralized command economy versus a free market at the very core, not even ideologically, but at the very core, you have, you know, how well can you centrally plan? Can you centrally plan a household? Sure. Can you centrally plan a country? No. That's where you have extreme waste and fraud. See Soviet Union, you know, timber trucks passing each other on the highway. Like, where the fuck are you going if you both need? Versus, what is the free market? At its core, the free market is a bunch of very advanced computers, our brains, with eyes and ears and walk around. They have personal interests. It is the quickest way to, it'd be like, you don't have to plan. I don't know. You don't have to plan like fluid dynamics. Like if I were to just dump water, whatever, all over this window, and if I had to plan it, it would take me the rest of my life calculating every molecule versus what just naturally happens. It hits it would imagine it would kind of spread out. There's a certain amount of surface cohesion. It would go down and hit this little lip. It would cool on this. Some of it would absorb, and then it would go down here. Once it hit the drywall, it'd start. But it's just a natural thing. The more there is, it's just going to go do the thing. And what a free market really is just a bunch of independent nodes pursuing their own ends. And then if somebody
Hmm.
finds something, they make a ton of profit. And well, how do you get the cost down? Well, someone else comes in. They don't have to be the first, but they go, I'll just offer you that thing for less. And then you balance out and then you get the free market. And that's why even in the United States, poor people are fat, whereas every other country, poor people are starved to death and eat their kids. In the US, poor people eat McDonald's. It's fantastic. It's America's the best country fucking ever. But in that same sense, why wouldn't news go that way? Just purely from an information standpoint. Forget profit and economy and everything. Pretend you're a military, you're doing like a military operation. Do you want one source in a town with a camera, or do you want 100,000 people with phones? You can get a much better modeling of everything. Just in New York, the number of phones around of people, you could model everything. You can see where every traffic jam is. You can see where every cafe is closed or something new has happened or there's a detour or there's a police, do not cross caution tape. Just the number of nodes is always going to be better. So it follows a very natural path that it would be. I mean, the Trump assassination attempt. But that was not Walter Cronkite there. That
No.
was a bunch of people my parents' age going, there's a guy with a gun up there, but they just happen to have a 4K camera in their pocket. So to me, that makes sense. So sorry for that interjection, but it makes sense. It's following the natural law of they're just more nodes are better.
Of course. I mean, all we're doing is we're going to end up, creating opportunities for people. You're not going to have some centralized news source where they decide. What we do is completely decentralize the news business and democratize it. You really think the guy in Chicago that's writing the story about the mayor or the city council meeting gives a rat's ass what my opinion is? We don't care. We're going to publish what you got. And what's going to happen is the public is going to be the ultimate decision maker on your content because the internet is self policing. People tell me, well, what, you don't fact check? Why would They send that stuff out, and the public tells us this person lied. It's not true. And the moment that happens, we get rid of them if we find it to be factual. So if at the end of the day, Tommy, you know, you have a show and it's an opinion show, right? You interject your opinion, I interject mine. Okay. When you're talking about news, the only thing journalists have is their credibility.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment they lie, they're over in the industry. I
Yeah.
mean, honestly, where do you think Rachel Maddow is going to go to work when MSNBC or whatever the hell she works for shuts down? Who's
Yeah.
going to take her? Do you think I'm going to take her? Get lost.
Yeah. No, that is true. It is self-policing in that it's your own credibility. It's
Yeah.
I'm sure there are a lot of people that are good people and want to make sure they're credible. I'd say
Mhm.
there's a much bigger incentive for people to be like, sure, I want to be credible doing this podcast. Another part of me is like, I've got a podcast for a dime a dozen. the second my word means nothing, I'm going to be thrown out, the unsubscribe, move next. There's the
Exactly.
personal incentive to me being
Hmm.
like, I don't know if we're even, if I have a guest on afterwards, I'll be like, I don't agree with everything, but use your own, interpretation. The second you start peddling dog shit, not only is it, unethical, it's also hurting your wallet. You're losing, you're losing subscribers. So you do have to give credit to journalists that are like, yeah, I'm not gonna say for sure this is it because I don't know. It's when you stop doing that, you become an organ of the state that it just, I mean, I don't feel for any of these people that are out of work. I mean, I don't want anyone to suffer, but at the same time, like, and I don't mean the pencil pusher, the busy. I don't mean them, but a lot of these people they dug this trench. I don't really give a shit. So
Of
I
course.
don't know. Yeah, no, it's
They created the problem, right?
yeah,
They weren't here trying to fix the problem. Also, they didn't really own the product. So there's a lot of people that left mainstream media simply because of of the culture that was there.
yeah,
There are. And then they had to come to the internet, try and figure it out. But all of that stuff eventually is going to be gone. So to me, you know, I was telling you, any tech giant, Facebook, Amazon, Uber, Netflix, all of them were funded from Silicon Valley. It's not a
hmm,
secret. And they raised literally hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars on IPOs to scale their companies at a rapid pace. What we do will become the next tech giant. It's a sector that hasn't even been touched, right? And I always tell people you have to control mainstream media. There's certainly something out there called Frank Speech. There's something called Patriot TV. There's something called Brighteon. All of them are fantastic products that are here to combat the mainstream media's disinformation, but under no circumstances are they mainstream media, meaning you can't go to Brighteon TV or to Patriot TV and find out about your kid's Little League game or the bake sale that's happening at the church in Minot, North Dakota, or the rooftop bar that opened with the Chicago Bears theme in Chicago. I mean, all of that is stuff that we publish. Also, you need ground troops. Everybody tells me, "Oh, artificial intelligence is going to write all the stories." No, it's not. Okay, you need ground troops on the ground. Name one artificial intelligence that could cover the high school football game as it's happening. If that happens and they walk in, it's called the Terminator. Run. Okay, yeah, that's all I'm going to say.
Uh,
So,
it's also even if it's not that, it'll be co-opted in the same way we saw every other. But we're seeing the meta theme of everything we're seeing is centralization leads to corruption, and power corrupts absolutely.
mhm,
So no matter
yeah,
what it is, AI writes it. Who owns the AI? Who designed it? How can you hack it?
yeah. So in our case, it's all going to be boots on the ground. Artificial intelligence may play a role as a tool because even I use it because it does a phenomenal job. If I put in bullet points of something about an event that's going to be happening and I ask it to write a story, it spits something out. I read it. If I like it, perfect. But
Hmm.
it's just doing what I told it to do.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with politics. This is just that's things like that. So it's I was telling you, all these companies are funded by Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
And the reason we're in the mess we're in today, Tommy, is because there's only six companies that control the mainstream media. Six, right? So if you want to know why, you saw that everybody saw the Sinclair broadcasting with the 20 or 30 TV
Hmm.
stations all saying the same thing. Well, that's because it was sent from one central location, right?
Hmm.
To all the stations who then they just read off a teleprompter. They're not journalists, okay? These people aren't, they're just reading off of a teleprompter. So I said to myself, and my background is investment banking, it's capital raising. I worked in that industry for 20 years. And when you're selling a private placement, let Facebook at one point was a private placement. When you're selling them, you can only sell to accredited investors, which means people that make a quarter million plus or institutional players. So basically, it's 1% of the population. And when you, Tommy, can get involved, because I know somebody from Silicon Valley didn't call you to tell you about the Facebook opportunity at a dollar, right? Or the Amazon or the Uber.
Shockingly, no one from
No,
Silicon Valley has reached out to me.
no, they haven't reached. Hey, we got this great deal. It's called Facebook. No, they didn't. They didn't because you couldn't buy it. Number one, But number two, even if you wanted to, they're not going to sell it to you. They sell it to all their friends. These are all the institutions that put in the big money. They scale these things out. So I said to myself, we're doing a $5 million raise followed up by a much larger one, probably 75 million. And I said, rather than go to institutional players, I have big reach. And then I have literally hundreds of podcasters, and my audience is the people that are basically disgusted with the mainstream media, all the patriots. That's the people that are on my site. I had 5.4 million people on my site last year. All of those people are conservatives and they're seeking out alternative news. When I went to the Reawaken America tour, just one of them in Miami, there was over 5,000 people there. It was packed. And I looked around, I said, these are my people. These are the people that really should own my product. It shouldn't be these institutions. And by the way, I have relationships with institutions. My lawyer runs a $300 million hedge fund. I play golf with them, and they invested in DWAC. Okay. He put 10 or 20 million into that. Right.
Hmm.
I have another friend of mine who has a fund that's $100 million fund. The other day, he asked me if he could be on the board. He even told me, he says, look, I have 5 people I know that once we build this, will buy it. I said, okay,
Hmm.
who are they? He named them. I didn't know any of them, Tommy. I'm like, so I'm thinking to myself, so you're already selling the business. And for those of you who don't know, when I sell stock to an individual, they sign a subscription agreement. Okay. When you're selling to private equity, they don't sign anything of yours. You're signing their stuff
Yeah.
because they're okay. And I'm going to tell you
They don't
why,
give a
because
fuck.
they're putting all the money in
Well,
and
yeah,
they
no,
want to make,
rightfully.
yeah, yeah. And they want to make sure somebody like me, if I can't run this thing, that they have the ability to get rid of me. Also, if George Soros were to make an offer, they would take it. They
Yeah.
would.
They don't
And
care.
and by the way, the guy I know there, the head of it, is he's one of us. But when it comes to money, it's not personal. Okay. It's how much money do we put in? What do we get out? That's it. So he's a capitalist. That's all that
Yeah.
freaking matters. What happens afterwards, he's going to be upset about, and he'll be part of the problem. So what I decided to do, I hired a guy that is a former hedge fund guy. He's a structure guy, very bright, Ivy League. He's taken 17 companies public. 17, right? Some people took one or two. The guy took 17. He knows what he's doing. So he reached out to me, and he was one of the rare people that actually understood what I do.
Hmm.
And he said to me, the world needs what you have. I mean, there's a demand for this that's huge. But he said, it would probably be best if you're public because there's your protection. It's one thing to shut down Parler. It's a private company that's owned by 20
Yeah.
or 30 people. It's another thing when you have 10 or 10 million shareholders in something, nobody's shutting it down.
Yeah.
Right. It's not going to happen. So he said, there's your protection. So he said also for acquisition purposes, you can acquire other companies with stock and grow at an accelerated pace, which I agree with. So I took that route, but we did something called an equity crowd fund. And for those of you who don't know what it is, it's not like a Give, Send, Go or a GoFundMe where you do donations. It's a actual brokerage firm. The one we use is called Issuance Express, but it's owned by North Capital Partners, which is a broker dealer. So you have to go through audits, background checks on everybody. I mean, you have to go like if you were going to do something through Goldman Sachs. It's the same thing because the brokerage firm is liable if they don't dot their I's and cross their T's. So what these things allow, what the crowdfunding allows, is you no longer have to only talk to institutional players or extreme high net worth individuals. Everybody can participate.
Mm.
So it's up to the company to decide the minimum investment. So what we did was I said, well, I want to make sure this is affordable to everybody because what I want is literally thousands upon thousands of shareholders, but I don't want the big ones. I want the little people. Okay. And there's a reason for that. So we made it $200. So I've been on a few shows. We raised a bunch of money from this. But what this does, and this is what I always tell people, Tommy, if we're supposed to be a news organization that's by the people, for the people, shouldn't the people own the product?
Mm.
Right? Or if I go to the hedge funds that I know and they make the investment, am I not making the same mistake we're already in?
Yeah.
Okay. It just leads to the same problem. So we decided to do the equity crowd fund where anybody can participate. and they could buy stock in the company, which I think is really going to be the best thing. And by the way, this is like flipping the switch because normally it's Silicon Valley, and those deals go to the high net worth individuals. Then they take them public, and that's when somebody like you can come in. And these people have already made billions of dollars.
Hmm.
This is going to be the exact opposite. We're going to have the little guys come in. We're going to take this thing public, and they're going to be the ones that make all the money. So this round we're doing at $2 a share. The next one will probably be 8 to 10 times higher. It's going to be a much bigger round. So if you're raising $75 million, you can't do it at a $75 million valuation. You just sold the whole company. So it
Hmm.
has to be 150 plus is what you got to do it at. But that one's going to be more for acquisitions and scaling this on a global level.
Hmm.
First one is to prime the pump to get the thing rolling and to start onboarding journalists and content creators to start to scale it, bring on people because what'll happen is we get probably 2 to 500 submissions a day right now. And if I were to just to bring on 3, 4, 500 new content creators, you'd have 3, 4, 500 new articles coming in. So it's one thing, you need to build an infrastructure around this to be able to approve all this stuff. So there's going to be a growth factor here, and there's going to be a cost where you're running in the red before you run to the black. But this is all growth. At this stage of the game, we already have a self-service platform for not only ad buys, for content creators to be able to submit. And the next step is how do we take it from 5 million people last year and bring it to 10 and 20 and 30 million? And
Hmm.
that's just all a function of content creators. The more content creators you bring on, the larger the audience grows. An example would be the average piece of content on our platform gets well over 100 people that click on it. So if you bring in 10,000 people, 10,000 content creators, if it's 100, you're talking a million people a day. I mean, you're, if not one of the largest news organizations in the world at that point.
Yeah.
The very few websites get that kind of traffic. You're
Yeah.
enormous. And from a growth standpoint, you haven't even begun.
Yeah. 100 is nothing.
Oh God, it's well 10,000. I mean, because you're
Yeah.
you're talking how many can you have? I'm guessing we'll probably pick up 2, 3 million. That's just in the United States. And then the cream will rise to the top. You'll probably some of them will just through attrition because nobody's watching or reading their stuff will leave. But you're building a grassroots news organization. It's easy to do simply because the demand is so great. Now you need the capital infusion just to be able to scale it. But we're about there. I'm ready to get started by next month. We're going to start scaling this. So what we're doing is a capital raise. So for the audience that wants to participate, I think you have the link. You could participate
Hmm.
in it. On my website, yournews.com, right in the upper right hand corner, it'll say invest in your news, which takes you to that page. But the Issuance Express it's a little different link, but Tommy's going to have it in the back. And then if you're an advertiser and you want to reach an audience, we can target to a zip code and everywhere in between. And then if you want to become a local news reporter, go to the bottom of yournews.com, click become a citizen journalist, and fill out the application.
Hmm.
And now you could go and it could be you could write stories about the high school football game. You could be a restaurant reviews. You go to restaurant and write stories, okay? And then eventually, when you get popular enough, you could call the restaurant and say, "I'd like to come in for a free meal, and I want to write a story about you."
Yeah.
So, okay, we have a food and wine section. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
And I was gonna say, yeah, as long as there's a way to monetize it, then it will flow. It's back. Yeah, it's back to the college kid. We need world. That's my favorite line I think from Iron Man. Iron Man 1 or 2. He's walking out of the Senate here, and he goes, "I've privatized world peace. You're welcome," because there becomes an incentive for it. That's what it comes down to. That's like what I've learned through this show is after 5 years, 1,600 plus episodes is now when I look at it, I'm like, how does it keep growing? How does it, but it all turns into like, well, what is also the root? You can have your moral compass and all that good shit, but you also have to look at the root and go, well, how does this make money? How does, and it's not some, I want a Lambo. It's more usually, like, well, this is an operation. I have to do this. In order to do this, I don't have a job. So this has to pay rent. I'm just thinking out loud. That's how I look at things now. Is when I first started the podcast, it's like, yeah, where can I upload? Where can I get? But as you get bigger and you start to go, okay, I have the audience, I have the Rolodex, I have the whatever the fuck. Then you start going. If people email you and go, hey, come on this website, then you start looking. You're like, what's the monetization like? What is the, it's because once you're decentralized enough, you're not as once I bitch shoot Spotify, Rumble, Frank Speech, Brighteon, Cloud Hub, Twitter. At a point now where it's like if when I see something like there's a new place to upload, I will in like the back of my mind I'll add it to the list of things I upload to. But it's not like the apple of my eye, if that makes sense. It's when I see something that's like upload here and monetized front of the row. Then I'm like, there we go. All these BitChute doesn't monetize me. Brighteon, Cloud Hub, they're video platforms where I can have them as backups, but that's what they are to me, is they're backups. And that's so I'm just thinking aloud is when the monetization is there, then I'm like, yeah, you don't need to explain it to me. I'm on. That it's
Well,
just
see,
yeah,
that's the whole point. There's a demand for what I
yeah,
do.
yeah,
Also, the industry's collapsing. And by the way,
yeah.
Rumble started in what did you say, 2013?
2013. I didn't hear about it until 2020.
Yeah, well, that's because there was a demand. Okay, a void needed to be filled. Rumble filled the void. Otherwise, they'd still be nothing. They
Yeah,
wouldn't exist. And now Rumble, the highest market cap I've ever seen it was 4 billion. It's got probably 1.5 billion or 2 billion right around now. I mean,
yeah,
depending on market conditions. This was something 4 years ago that the market cap for it was zero.
yeah,
Okay, it was nothing. Now it's worth a couple $1 billion.
yeah,
What's the what's the valuation to a company that replaces the legacy media? Remember, I have no competition
yeah,
because nobody does what I do. You're talking about something that's
yeah.
staggering.
Love. Yeah,
It'll
It's
it's staggering.
Rumble
So,
is more YouTube. It's not news. It can
oh
be,
my
but
God,
but
let me
it's
tell
more
you something.
YouTube. It's content created and filled and populated platform.
If YouTube decided that they were not going to be woke and they wanted all the podcaster back, everybody would go. Rumble would be just
I
destroyed.
would go tomorrow. Are you kidding
Yeah,
me? The
I
fucking
know.
audience?
So
It's like a
so
hundred
Rumble
times.
exists because YouTube doesn't want you. Let's call it the way it is.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah,
And if YouTube says we want to crush Rumble, I'm inviting everybody back. And all of a sudden, you're going to have everybody over there. So, look, I don't know whether that's going to happen or not. My point is, I don't have that problem because I'm the only player.
yeah,
That one exists because this one threw everybody off. They filled a void. There's a 500,000 news reporters out of work in the United States. The void I fill is
yeah,
local news, right? That's
yeah,
is a massive difference.
yeah. No, I mean, yeah, no, you are. No, yeah, you're right. In the same way, Rumble's looking at the. That's why I always tell people that are like, where I'm just like, hey, fuck you, like just stand up for free speech and you'll get banned from YouTube and then leave. And they go, well, what's the value of that? Is well, when enough people get banned, then there's financial incentive for a Rumble to pop up. So the people that are like, I stay on YouTube because at least my message still gets out. No, it doesn't. All you're doing is appeasing the monster. All you're doing is showing them that I don't like your censorship, but it's not enough for me to actually change anything. You're giving in. Your appeasement never works. It buys you a little time, but it never works. So a Tim Pool, Lex Friedman, who their argument is, and who knows, maybe you can make that argument statistically once you break 1 million subscribers. Their argument is by staying on YouTube and staying within the parameters of speech, they can still reach a large number of people. And they're quantifiably not wrong. However, for something like Rumble to start, you have to have enough people out of work. You can't have because money talks. You can't have the big money behind Rumble going, well, there's 1 million people on YouTube who say they're unhappy. Maybe if we make this platform, they'll come. That's not how money works. That is not how it works. What happens is when there's 1 million people that just got banned from YouTube,
It's called the
now,
void.
now they need a home. Now you bring them in. So it is the people like Lex Friedman or Tim Pool. I do on one hand understand that argument. It is I don't think it can be backed up. So yeah, my point is yeah, and I was just kind of thinking as an aside, yeah, they could crush Rumble today.
Oh my God,
They
in a
could
minute,
crush
just
Rumble,
invite everybody back.
and then you go, well, why are they not? It would be profitable. It would be insanely profitable. And you
Mhm.
go, okay, well, we know Alphabet's like the biggest fucking company ever. It's up there with like GE and Northrop Grumman. And then you go, well, why are they not inviting everyone back? And you go, there's a different capital. There's a political capital. When the Soviet Union first saw the space shuttle, They looked at the cost of the space shuttle and they looked at what it was putting up there and they said, this is not profitable. There's something else there. We now know, decades later, the space shuttle had military applications. It was bringing up military shit too. That's how you look at it. If you go, that's not profitable to not take everyone back from Rumble. Why are they doing this? Well, like the space shuttle, I would argue that YouTube also has military applications. There's a different capital. Either they are getting backdoor government subsidies, or at worst, you have intelligence agencies with blackmail on people working with China or whatever, or they're pedophiles. There's something fucky going on to have an audience, to have a user base of like 2 billion people and to not crush. They could crush Rumble like a paper, like crumbling up paper, and they're not. That, just as an aside, that's a very interesting thing to go. Well,
Tommy.
whatever's on the other side of that scale is so heavy that that's military. That's something. That is real fucking. Or they have a video of, I don't know, the CEO on Epstein Island. Regardless, there is a very dense weight on the other end of that scale.
Yeah.
That's creepy to think about.
And also remember, Rumble to YouTube is like a gnat on an elephant's ass. Okay.
It's
It's
nothing. I love Rumble.
it,
Dude, I wish I was on. My show would be so much bigger if I was on YouTube, but I'm not, and I can't, and they won't let me on. That's an eerie thing to think about. That's kind of not what we were talking about, but that's got me. Yeah, why are they like the space shuttle? It's like, well, then why are they putting 200 billion into it? It's because it's a fucking military plane. We're bringing up NRO satellites and shit. Like that's what we're doing. Yeah, it can be an orbital bomber. It's not it's a civilian space agent. Oh, it's not. It's a brilliant military program masquerading as a space agency. If I wanted to really roll up Delta Force to, I don't know, some business, I would drive by in a school bus, not an AP, not an armored personnel carrier. I'd go by in a school bus and you go, oh, look, it's a school bus. And then a bunch of fucking killers pour out the back. That's what you do. Yeah, that's weird that they're wrapping it up as we don't want hate speech. You know, dude, that is the power of the U.S. intelligence communities is sitting on YouTube. That's fucked. Not to just completely derail that, but you got me thinking. That's a
yeah, I mean, I'm
why are
not
they
wrong.
there's so much money that and they don't have to do anything new. This isn't some pie in the sky idea. This isn't 2005 where you're like spitballing about the concept of podcasts. I mean, paper, like they could just that, and they're not. That's
Right. Because it doesn't matter. What they're doing is so much bigger. This is just something that they'll just allow.
the money. You're like, dude, that's fucked. Not to
Hmm.
completely derail that, but that just got me thinking, man. That's it. Sorry, I didn't mean to completely derail that.
No, no.
You're
Look, I
new.
mean,
That's a yeah,
that's my point. But still, Rumble is worth a couple $1 billion
yeah. And so if they're
today.
not going to get it, it's there for someone else to go take.
Exactly.
And
It
you're
filled the
coming in.
void.
I
I'll the
got
void I'm filling, nobody else is there. Not one person. So this is what makes it really easy. And this is why, from a patriot standpoint, we need to control mass media. By the time we're done bringing all these news reporters on, you are the 10,000 company. You are the YouTube for
you.
this
Yeah,
space. And that's the most important thing. So we want shareholders. I want literally thousands of them. If you could only afford 200 bucks, do it. If you could afford 20,000, do it. It's whatever's affordable. I just want the shareholders. So that's why we reach out to the podcasters because we know there's the audience that's listening is like-minded because ultimately at the end of the day, you want to control the next mainstream media. What I do unequivocally will be the next mainstream media. And
mm,
it's either going to be me or George Soros. Pick one.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah,
It
yeah,
will be somebody. They will fill that void. The
yeah,
void already exists, and nobody's doing this but me.
yeah. And it's also just one of those truths of like, yeah, ideally, no one would pursue, I don't know, media consolidate. It's like, yeah, I get it, kumbaya. Someone will,
Mm-hmm.
and what I've seen over the last 3 years is that it's I don't ever want to be on the back foot again. I don't ever want to be caught where all of a sudden just one day my channel shut down and there's nothing to do. There's no
Yeah,
one
I
to
agree.
do.
I,
There's no one to
one of the things
to.
I'm I'm really considering at some point. I know when you get into the, the video models, it's a lot more expensive because you're streaming out the
Yeah.
video. But as we start scaling this and building this, I'll probably have some kind of video component for people that want to have their shows here because I'm all about free speech. That's all it's going to be. I don't care what you say as long as it's not a crime.
Yeah.
And if it is, it'll get taken down. But other than that, I could give a rat's ass what your opinion is. It doesn't matter to me because ultimately the marketplace is going to decide whether you make it or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
If nobody's watching your stuff, you're going to leave on your own.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Yeah. You're gonna show yourself the door. Yeah.
Yeah, you can show
Yeah.
yourself the door.
Yeah. Don't
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah. Don't let your money get mad.
I do think about that. I do think what happens if YouTube decides they want to squash Rumble. And that's one of the reasons that I think a video component of ours at a later time where it's an option. Because once you have all the traffic, once you've aggregated all the content, it's over. But now to be able to control the video to make sure that nobody else can do anything to it is not a bad move.
Now it's also interesting because you could bring everyone back on Rumble, butter them up for 12 months, wait until Rumble's dried up, and then you could boot them again. And it would take a couple years to get Rumble back up, and maybe not a couple years, but there would be a delayed time to get it up and going again. They could do a fake drawback. Yeah. So yeah, they could do it. They could do irreparable damage. They could crush Rumble and then ban everyone in a year again. So yeah, I don't know. Long term, even that though, bringing everyone back, banning it, it's still these are still the actions of a dying leviathan. These
Yeah.
aren't, it's okay. Sure, that would suck, but look 5 years out, look 10 years out, look 20 years out. These are all tiny little band-aids they're putting on. It's the monster's bleeding to death. It's just taking time, but it will continue to bleed to death. Um, I was gonna say, we can wrap this up. We've been running for about an hour, but what you just said about you're like, I don't care if I agree with you or not. It does make me think of that Marine quote. So that
Mm.
black guy, commander or something back in the 70s. He goes, I love the Marines because black or white, they hate you equally. They all think you're a piece of shit. They don't care what you are. You're nothing to them. And I think about that. I'm like, yeah, I'll have on anyone on my show. I don't give a I hate you all equally. Like, let's do a show. Hopefully I get paid. Hopefully, you push your book and shake hands. I don't give a shit. Yeah. So,
Awesome.
um, anything else? Any closing thoughts you want to plug? And obviously, we can talk
No,
about that whenever.
Tommy, I think we covered everything. I'm grateful that you had me on your show.
Yeah, man.
I'm just like you, fighting for the cause. And as I always explain to people, and I may have said you this yesterday. You and I, if we're never going to play in the NFL, but if we built a football stadium, which is our platform, what do we want to do? We want to fill the seats. So if you bring in the teams, that's the draw. And then we go sell the tickets when they walk up and then all the concessions inside. So in our case, we're a platform. So we're covered under Section 230.
Mm-hmm.
That's the beauty of this. We're using
Yeah.
their own laws against them. So people post, there's an approval process, but we don't change anything. We just make sure that the content's running to the subject. If it's a golf story, it goes in golf, not in business, right? And then the geography, city, county, market, because everybody that puts up their kids' little league game thinks it's front page national news. Everybody, right? So it's
Yeah.
distribute. So you can't allow people to distribute their own content because they're always going to put it in the wrong place.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
or check every section. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. Or they're going to tell you this is the best story they've ever done. So yeah,
Yeah.
shut up. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you guys are the ones that are really fighting the fight. I'm just creating the playing field for monetization.
Yeah. And it also just comes down to, I mean, at its core, not to go off philosophically or spiritually, but it does come down to power projection and the desire to impose your will. And I have no desire to. I don't think confident people. I don't think, or maybe not even confident. I don't think people who are fulfilled or have a loving family or who are happy with themselves or, don't have a bunch of skeletons in the closet. those people don't want to impose their will. Like when I see someone doing something, it means nothing to me. I don't, it's, there's something deeply you know, erroneously coded in the subconscious or the DNA of the people that want to impose their will. It's never worked in human history. All it does is build resistance. And I think at its core, like, what do I want? I want to make a ton of money. I'd like a wife one day. I'd like a family. I want to make a ton of fucking money. Yeah, I'll have on people I disagree with. I don't care. I'm trying to make some money. And furthermore, even if I wasn't making money, I don't care. You're allowed to think differently than me. You go even further. That's what makes life fun and entertaining. Is people screaming at each other. That's great. I don't have any desire to lock it all down. Talking points only. That's not only is it unethical, not only is it financially retarded, it's also just not fun. It's just not like
Agreed.
I don't want to sit around with a bunch of people that agree with me. Nothing's better than when I'm doing like a video game stream and somebody comes in, they're like, fuck this honky. And I'm like, all right, this is interesting now. I like your game stream and your podcast. I'm like, thanks. Somebody comes in and they're like, you're a blue-eyed demon. I'm like, this is interesting. I like this. It's at the very core. It's like, it's also just not fun. Um, but dude, let's wrap this up. The link to your
Okay.
news is in the description. Guys, please go check it out. My podcast, I started uploading there yesterday. It will be there. And yeah, I'll send you this episode and I'd love to have you love to have you on again sometime, dude.
Absolutely. Anytime you need somebody to come on, I'll be your guy.
I
And
appreciate it.
we'll get it done. You'll start getting your stuff up here. If you load this up, I'll share it out on our social media pages.
Yep, I will.
The show, yeah, absolutely.
I did. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Till next time, man. Thank you for your time. Guys, thank you for watching. God bless everybody.